Have you ever stopped to think about what it means to be chosen? It sounds like something grand, almost mystical, doesn't it? But the truth is, being chosen isn't always about having magical powers or a destiny full of glory. Sometimes it's much simpler and deeper than we imagine. A chosen one, at its core, is someone with a special purpose. It doesn't have to be something that changes the entire world. It could be something that changes just one person's world. It might be that friend who always knows what to say at the right time, or the person who helps when no one else will. The chosen one often doesn't even realize they're chosen. They just feel a different kind of weight, as if life is always asking more of them. Have you ever felt that, like there's something you need to do but you don't know what it is yet? The most curious thing is that this concept of being chosen appears in many cultures and stories. In the Bible, for example, there's David, who was called to be king, even though he was the smallest and least impressive of his brothers. He was just a shepherd, but he was chosen because he had the right heart, not because he seemed the most prepared. In more modern stories, like movies and books, the chosen ones are usually ordinary people who face extraordinary challenges. It's always about the courage to say yes when the call comes. But here's the big question. Are the chosen born with this mark, or do they become chosen because of the choices they make? Deep down, could everyone have the potential to be chosen, but only a few accept the challenge? What separates a chosen one from the rest of the world starts with this idea. It's not about how strong, smart, or important you are. It's about how you respond to what life throws at you. The chosen one is the person who, even when afraid, takes a step forward. And you? Are you ready to understand what that means for your life? Now that you've understood what it means to be chosen, the next question is, how do you know if you're one of them? Are there clear signs that show you've been called to something special? Spoiler, yes, there are, but they're not always obvious. To start, the most common sign is that feeling of restlessness. You know when you feel like something's missing even when everything seems fine. Maybe you have a stable job, a loving family, amazing friends, but you still feel like there's something greater waiting for you. That's no coincidence. It's as if something inside you knows there's a mission, something only you can do. Another sign is that the chosen often face many challenges early in life. It's not a rule, but it's pretty common. It's as if life is preparing you, shaping you to be stronger and more resilient. Sometimes the difficulties you've faced and overcome are the same ones that make you ready to help others. Think about all the stories of people who changed the world. How many of them had an easy life? Almost none. Additionally, chosen ones often attract situations or people that unknowingly put them on the right path. Have you ever had a moment when everything seemed lost, but someone showed up and said exactly what you needed to hear? Or when an opportunity appeared at just the right time, like a nudge from the universe? Those moments aren't coincidences. They're part of the calling. But hold on, because it's not all glamour. Many times the signs can be uncomfortable. It's common for the chosen to feel an enormous weight, as if they have greater responsibilities than others. It's that feeling of, why me, that arises in tough moments. But here's an important truth. The call doesn't choose the prepared, it prepares the chosen. You don't need to have all the answers now. In fact, almost no one does. And you know what's even more interesting? These signs aren't exclusive to heroes or historical figures. They show up in the lives of ordinary people like you and me. The secret is paying attention. Could it be that challenge you thought was unfair was actually preparation? Could that restlessness in your chest be a reminder that you were born for something greater? The signs are there. The question is, are you paying attention? Being chosen isn't an easy path. In fact, their journey is often marked by challenges that seem impossible to overcome, but that's exactly what makes their story so special. They don't give up. Even when everything is against them, they find strength they didn't even know they had. It all begins with a call, and it's not always clear. It could be an idea that comes out of nowhere, an unexpected opportunity, or even a difficult situation that forces you to act. The journey of the chosen has no maps or shortcuts. It's full of uncertainties, but also full of meaning. It's as if every step, even the most painful ones, leads you to something greater. And then come the obstacles. They're inevitable. Many chosen ones face rejection, doubt, and even betrayal. Close people may not understand or support you. Why are you doing this? Why not take the easier path? These questions often come from those we least expect, but the truth is, the chosen must learn to trust their path even when no one else does. A good example of this is figures like Moses in the Bible. He was just a shepherd when he was called to free an entire people from slavery. He doubted, questioned, and tried to escape the responsibility. But in the end, he accepted the call, even without knowing exactly how he would do it all. That's the essence of the chosen one's journey, saying yes, even when it seems impossible. Another defining aspect of this journey is constant learning. Chosen ones aren't born knowing everything. They learn from failures, losses, and especially from the small victories that no one sees. Every challenge overcome is like a piece of a puzzle that slowly fits together. Have you ever had a moment when you looked back and realized that all the bad things that happened in your life somehow led you to something good? That's part of the journey, but do you know what the best part is? This journey isn't just about the chosen one. It's about the impact they have on the lives of those around them. A chosen one isn't someone who seeks glory for themselves. They understand that their mission is greater than they are. It could be helping someone believe in themselves, changing a community, or even transforming the world. Each journey is unique, but they all share one thing in common. They leave a legacy. Here's a spoiler. If you feel like your life is full of challenges, maybe that's a sign you're on this journey too. The question is, are you ready to keep walking even without knowing the final destination? Now let's tackle a question that always makes people stop and think. Is being chosen something that's destined? Or is it the result of the choices we make? This is a powerful question because it directly influences how we understand life. Let's start with destiny. Many people believe that some things are written, that certain events must happen regardless of our actions. It's the idea that there's a greater plan, something beyond our control, guiding every step. When we look at the stories of the chosen ones, this sense of destiny is very strong. Think about figures like Noah, who was called to build the ark. He didn't choose that. He was chosen. But he could have said no, right? And this is where free will comes in. Because in the end, even if destiny exists, it never forces anyone to follow the path. Chosen ones always have the freedom to accept or refuse the call. That's what makes their journey so meaningful. Imagine if someone were simply forced to do something. It wouldn't have the same impact. What makes the choice special is precisely the fact that it is, well, a choice. Now let's be honest. This balance between destiny and free will isn't always easy to understand. Sometimes it feels like everything in your life is pushing you toward a certain path. Have you ever had a moment when everything seemed to align so perfectly it was impossible to ignore, like the right doors opened at the exact moment while others closed? It's as if destiny were saying, "This is the way," but at the same time you still have to decide to walk through those doors. On the other hand, there are also moments when nothing seems to make sense, when everything feels like it's against you, and yet you choose to keep going. This is where free will shines, because in those moments it's your determination that makes all the difference. Destiny may put you on the path, but it's your choices that keep you on it. One example that helps illustrate this is the story of Jonah, the man who was swallowed by a great fish. He had a clear mission but chose to run away. Even so, destiny caught up with him, and he eventually accepted the call. This story shows that even when we try to escape, what's destined to happen somehow finds a way to reach us, but in the end, it's still up to us to take the next step. So what separates the chosen ones here is precisely their ability to balance destiny and free will. They don't just go along with what seems inevitable, but they also don't ignore the signs. They choose every day to honor the call they've received, even when it's difficult. And now I ask you, do you believe it's your destiny to be chosen? Or do you think it's your choices that put you in that role? Perhaps the answer lies in both. One thing that's certain about the journey of a chosen one is that it's never easy. On the contrary, it's full of obstacles that test patience, faith, and even the will to continue. And do you know what's curious? These obstacles aren't coincidences. They're part of the process. They shape, strengthen, and ultimately reveal who the person truly is. From an early age, chosen ones often face greater challenges than most. It's not that their lives are harder by chance, but it seems that every difficulty has a purpose. These challenges are like trials, stages that prepare the chosen for something greater. Have you noticed how the people who inspire us the most are often those who went through the hardest situations and overcame them? It's as if each obstacle were a tool that refines the chosen one. What's interesting is that these obstacles can appear in many forms. Sometimes they're external situations like rejection, lack of resources, or even persecution. Other times, the biggest enemies are within us: insecurity, fear, doubt. These are the toughest battles because no one else can fight them for you. Only you know what goes on in your mind during those quiet moments when everything feels too heavy. Remember David facing Goliath? He was just a boy, and the giant seemed invincible. Everyone around him was terrified. But David had something others didn't: confidence. He believed that the battle wasn't just his, that something greater was on his side. And that's how he won. That's the point. The obstacles are big, but they're never bigger than the purpose you carry. Another important thing: chosen ones often face misunderstanding. Not everyone will understand your journey. Sometimes even those close to you may question or discourage you. Why are you doing this? Don't you think you're going too far? These words can hurt, and it's easy to start doubting yourself. But here's the truth: you don't need everyone to understand. What matters is that you believe in what you're doing. And do you know what else? The obstacles also teach valuable lessons. Every challenge overcome is an opportunity to grow, learn, and prepare for the next step. It's like climbing a ladder. Each step may seem difficult, but it brings you closer to the top. Even the moments when you fail are important because they show you where to improve. Failing is part of the process. Giving up, however, is not an option. So, if you're facing many challenges right now, maybe that's a sign you're on the right path. The journey of a chosen one is never about having an easy life. It's about finding strength even when everything seems to be falling apart. And remember, the obstacles may be big, but they're never bigger than you. One thing that separates the chosen ones from the rest of the world is the impact they have on others' lives. Chosen ones aren't those who live only for themselves. They have a greater mission, something that benefits others. And often this manifests through leadership and influence. When we talk about leadership, it doesn't mean every chosen one has to be a great public leader or a famous figure. Leadership goes beyond that. A chosen one leads by example, by what they do and how they live their life. They're the kind of person who, just by being present, inspires others to be better, to believe in themselves, or to see the world differently. Think about the people you admire. Why do they inspire you? Usually it's not because they have all the power in the world, but because they live with purpose and authenticity. And that's exactly what chosen ones do. They don't lead with imposition, but with natural influence, almost like a light that attracts those around them. A good example of this is Jesus, one of the greatest leaders the world has ever seen. He didn't need wealth or armies to influence thousands of people. He did it with compassion, wisdom, and purpose. Even those who don't believe in religion can recognize his impact on history. And what's even more impressive, he started with a small group of people, teaching simple yet profound lessons. This shows that the leadership of a chosen one doesn't depend on numbers, but on authenticity. Moreover, the chosen ones have the ability to see what others cannot. They can look at a situation or a person and perceive hidden potential. It's as if they were placed in the world to awaken the best in people. How many times has someone believed in you, even when you doubted yourself? This kind of influence transforms lives. Of course, this influence also comes with responsibility. The chosen ones know that their actions carry weight, that what they do can inspire, but it can also destroy if they are not careful. That's why they need to stay grounded, even when they start to realize the impact they have. It's not about ego, it's about serving. Another important point is that the chosen ones are not always immediately recognized. Often their influence is subtle, almost invisible. You might never know how much you've impacted someone's life, but that doesn't mean the impact didn't happen. It's like a seed planted that bears fruit much later. In the end, what separates the chosen ones is that they understand what they do is not just for themselves, it's for something greater. They don't seek glory or recognition. They seek to fulfill the purpose they feel within them. And that's why, even unintentionally, they end up leaving a legacy. So have you ever realized the impact you could have on someone's life? Perhaps what you're doing right now is already an example for someone, even if you don't know it. If there's one thing humanity's history isn't lacking, it's people who left their mark. Some are remembered as great leaders, others as visionaries, and even as those who faced adversity and changed everything around them. These people, in a way, can be called chosen ones because their lives had an impact that went beyond the ordinary. A classic example is Moses, the one who led the people of Israel out of Egypt. He wasn't an obvious figure to be chosen. He was a man who had fled his homeland, lived as a shepherd, and even said he wasn't good with words. Yet he was called to a gigantic mission to free an entire people from slavery. The most interesting part? He hesitated at first. He questioned, doubted himself, but in the end, he accepted. That's one of the marks of the chosen. Even when they don't feel ready, they take the first step. Another remarkable example is Martin Luther King Jr. He wasn't born with fame, power, or wealth, but he had a vision, a world where all people were treated equally. He faced persecution, threats, and even imprisonment, but he didn't give up. His words and actions inspired millions and continue to impact generations today. He is a perfect example of how the chosen use their influence to lead changes that go far beyond themselves. And it's not just biblical or historical figures that fit this idea. Think about people like Malala Yousafzai, who began fighting for girls' right to education in an environment where that was almost impossible. She survived an attack and still stood firm in her purpose. Malala shows that the chosen ones don't always have an easy life, but they have courage that defies the impossible. But you know what's even more fascinating? Not all the chosen are known worldwide. Often they are ordinary people, living in silence but making a huge difference in the lives of those around them. It could be that teacher who motivated you to never give up, the friend who gave you strength when no one else was there, or even someone who showed kindness that changed your day. These people are also chosen, even if they don't realize it. And there's more. The story of the chosen often only makes sense when we look back. Along the way, it may seem confusing, even unfair. But over time, it becomes clear that every step had a purpose. Every challenge, every choice, every difficult moment shaped these people so they could fulfill their mission. Now think with me. How many stories like these are happening around us without us noticing? Could it be that years from now, someone will look at your life and say that you were chosen? History is full of examples, but it's still being written. And who knows? You might be the next person to leave your mark. When we think of the chosen ones, it's easy to imagine great historical figures or characters from epic stories. But what if I told you that being chosen isn't just about grand feats? Often the chosen ones are living among us, leading seemingly ordinary lives but making an immense difference in everyday life. The truth is, being chosen doesn't necessarily mean changing the entire world. It could mean changing one person's world. It could be that mother who raises her children with love and sacrifice, even while facing hardships. It could be that coworker who always offers help when they see someone in need. Or even the stranger who shows up at the right time with a gesture you'll never forget. Everyday life is full of small miracles, but we don't always notice them. Sometimes the chosen one is that person who does what no one else wants to do. They don't seek recognition but act because they know it's the right thing to do. It's the teacher who truly cares about their students, the driver who helps someone lost, or the friend who supports you in silence. These people aren't in the spotlight, but their impact is real, and you know what's even more interesting? Many times the chosen ones don't even know they are chosen. They don't feel like they're doing anything extraordinary, but the people around them see the difference they make. It's as if their role is to be a light in the darkness, even without realizing it. In everyday life, the chosen ones also face challenges. They may feel overwhelmed, misunderstood, or even question whether what they're doing is worth it. But that's where their strength comes in. They keep going, even when no one is watching. They know they're there for a reason, even if they don't fully understand what it is. And here's something else. The perception of being chosen can change depending on the moment. Maybe right now you don't feel special or important. But think about the things you've done for others, the words or gestures that might have transformed someone's day. The chosen one doesn't always recognize their impact in the present. Sometimes they only realize it much later, when they look back and see how everything connected. So, here's a thought. Could it be that you've already been the chosen one in someone's daily life? Could it be that, without realizing it, you've done something that changed someone else's life? Maybe the answer is yes. And if it is, that already means a lot. Because being chosen isn't about being perfect or grand. It's about being in the right place at the right time and making a difference. And now I ask you, have you looked around? Have you noticed the chosen ones in your daily life? Or better yet, could you be one of them? If there's one thing that seems to be present in every chosen one, it's a spiritual connection. It doesn't matter the religion or belief system. Chosen ones have something that goes beyond the material, a connection to something greater that guides them and gives them strength, even in the hardest moments. This connection doesn't need to be supernatural or full of mystical signs. Sometimes it's quiet, like an intuition that makes you feel you're on the right path, even without understanding why. It's that sense of purpose you can't explain but know is there. This connection could be with God, the universe, nature, or even a bigger idea you deeply believe in. A classic example is the story of Joseph in Egypt. He was sold by his own brothers, unjustly imprisoned, and yet he kept his faith. He believed that even in the face of such injustice, there was a greater plan guiding everything. In the end, he became responsible for saving thousands of people from famine. That faith, that connection to something greater, is what sustained him every step of the journey. The spiritual connection of the chosen ones also appears in moments of silence. You know those times when everything seems to be going wrong, but an inner voice, almost imperceptible, tells you to keep going. That's a manifestation of this connection. It's like a reminder that you're not alone, that there's something or someone watching over you. What's most interesting is that this connection doesn't need to be perfect. Many chosen ones, at some point, questioned their faith or doubted their mission. That's normal. Moses hesitated, Jonah tried to run away, and even Jesus on the cross asked, "Why have you forsaken me?" These moments of doubt show that even as chosen ones, they were human. What sets them apart is that in the end, they returned to trust. This spiritual connection also helps chosen ones see beyond what is visible. They don't just look at what's in front of them. They see potential, purpose, what could be. It's as if their connection to the divine gives them a broader perspective that goes beyond what logic can explain. But perhaps the most beautiful part of this connection is the fact that it's not exclusive. Anyone can develop it. Sometimes the difference between being chosen and not being lies in the willingness to connect. It's not about being perfect or holy. It's about being willing to listen, to feel, to believe there's something greater guiding you. Here's a reflection. Do you feel that you have this connection? If not, what's stopping you? Perhaps it's already there, just waiting for you to pause for a moment and listen. Because the truth is, chosen ones aren't better than anyone else. They simply learn to listen and follow what their heart and spirit reveal. This might be the most important question of all. How do you know if you're chosen? Are there clear signs, or is it something you only discover by living it? The truth is, the answer may be different for each person, but there are some things that can help you understand if you've been called to something greater. To start, let's return to that feeling of restlessness. Have you ever felt like something is missing in your life, even when everything seems to be in place. This is one of the most common ways a calling manifests itself. It's not a bad kind of restlessness like anxiety, but a sense that there's something bigger waiting for you, something you still need to discover. Another way to recognize your calling is to look at your talents and passions. Often what you love to do or what you do effortlessly is connected to your purpose. Chosen ones aren't sent on random missions. They're uniquely prepared for what they need to accomplish. Think about the things you do that have a positive impact on others. That could be a sign you're on the right path. But here's an important detail. The calling doesn't come with a manual or a signpost saying, "This is the way." Often it appears as a series of opportunities or challenges. It's as if the universe is testing you, asking if you're willing to take the next step. These opportunities may seem small, but in the end, each one brings you closer to your purpose. There's more. Recognizing your calling also means looking at the difficult moments in your life. Have you noticed how some of the worst experiences can teach you lessons you'd never have learned otherwise? It's as if those hardships were tools, shaping you for the mission ahead. It's not easy to see this while you're in the chaos, but over time it becomes clear. An interesting point is that many people spend their lives waiting for a big sign, something spectacular to confirm they're chosen. But the truth is, most of the time the calling is subtle. It comes in the form of a desire, an idea, or even a discomfort that pushes you to change. The secret is paying attention. Finally, recognizing your calling means having the courage to accept what comes with it. Being chosen isn't easy. It requires commitment, sacrifice, and sometimes faith that defies logic, but at the same time, it's deeply rewarding, because nothing compares to the feeling of knowing you're living with purpose, that your life has a greater meaning. So here's a final reflection. Have you already received the call and not realized it? Or maybe you're feeling it now but haven't had the courage to accept it yet. Pay attention to the signs around you, but above all, listen to what your heart is saying, because deep down the answer is already within you.